A couple of weeks ago, I went to an emerging franchisor conference called Springboard. It was my first time at that conference, and I was really surprised of how many people were there, the content of the conversation, and everything about the event was, pretty interesting and I think very valuable for me, and of course, more so for those franchisors that were there, learning how to be better franchisors, responsible franchisors, and building a network of people like them and resources that can help them be better for them and their franchisees. As I was going through that 3-day event, I realized that there were several topics that keep coming up in the different sessions. And I realized that while many of these topics were focused on franchisors, a lot of them were actually just as applicable for franchisees, especially those that are growing a multi-unit organization. So I decided to make this podcast all about that, to share with you what are those 9 ongoing topics that keep coming up in the sessions and how they apply not only to the franchisors, but also to multi-unit franchisees that are growing their enterprise. So let's go ahead and get started with the first topic that kept coming on over and over in the different sessions. And that was the importance of culture, a strong, positive culture in the organization. And of course, the context was all around franchisors and how franchisors needed to create that culture through their mission, vision, and values, for them living those values, living that mission, living that vision every day in the organization. And by doing so, implementing policies and procedures that support that mission and the values that they want to build the organization through. And how strong this culture is will determine, how they're able to sustain it as they keep growing their enterprise. Because as a franchisor, the ultimate goal, obviously, is to continue to grow more and more units, right? The initial golden 100 units, right? But as you're opening your units from your 5th, your 10th, your 15th location, the locations start becoming further away. The franchisees are further away, and you get to, really build a relationship less and less with those people that are further and further away from you. And that's why building that strong culture that you can drive it through your leaders and through your field teams into the franchisors organization is going to be very important to be able to keep that spirit of whatever the brand was built into. So as true that it is important for franchisors to have that strong culture, the same thing is for franchisees, because as a multi-unit franchisee, you have your home base. And of course, as you grow your organization, your units become more and more, and you start becoming or being further and further away from the units and the leaders that maybe at the beginning you had a very close relationship, but with time, and people change, it becomes less and less so. And that's why building that strong culture of values and mission and vision is so important, because then your people can live that culture. And, yes, it starts with you and you drive it through your immediate leaders, but then those leaders need to drive it through the units in your organization. And so I believe that culture, or the culture message, is true to multi-unit franchisees as it is to franchisors. So the question is, do you have a strong culture? Do you have a strong mission, vision, and values? Do you live it every day? And do your people know what they are? And the way that they behave and the environment that's being created in the units, is it in alignment with that culture that you want to create? If not, that would be an opportunity for you, for sure. And the second really ongoing topic that kept coming up in the different sessions was all about communication and the importance of keeping your franchisees as a franchisor informed about what's going on with the company. Not only about, of course, new programs or initiatives or innovation or marketing or campaigns, but really overall what's happening with, anything that has to do with things that might affect them, whether it is coming from the franchisor or maybe the news, in the industry and the media, and maybe guidance as to, what to do, etc. Not missing an opportunity to communicate with your franchisees is going to be important, because the more that you communicate, the more that they will be part of your organization, the more that they feel like they're being included, that they are in the know. I'm sure you heard of the saying FOMO, fear of missing out. Everybody wants to know what's going on. So make sure that you're communicating, and literally there is no way to over communicate unless, you don't have a really structured communication plan where then the franchisees might be drowning in emails. Okay, that's not the point. The point is to have a very good strategic communication plan so that your franchisees feel informed and communicated and involved, so that they stay connected to you. Well, the same thing applies for multi-unit franchisees. Your people in the field, the unit managers, the district managers, they all want to know what's going on. And so having a very strong communication plan that you can follow, that to be systematic, not overload them with information, but giving them consistent and the right information that they need to be able to feel part of the company, to be informed, and to be able to act with whatever is the most current information. It's going to be important in your team. So that's another topic that was reoccurring throughout the Franchisor Conference of Springboard. The third ongoing topic that kept coming up was relationship building between the franchisor and the franchisee. Things are changing in the franchise world, between government requirements and regulations, as well as joint employer liability laws. I mean, it's really driving a wedge between franchisees and franchisors. And as much as franchisors may want to do more for franchisees, these regulations and these laws are really handcuffing them from being able to do more. And so therefore, building a relationship outside of those rules and, make it more personal, or being able to have your franchisees be more involved through either advisory boards or committees, et cetera, so that you can bring them closer to you and build those relationships one-on-one with the franchisees. So have your franchisor corporate team members really build those relationships with the franchisees that are out there doing it every day, so that you can understand better what they're going through. They can feel more free to tell you what's going on, and maybe, who knows, give you amazing ideas that can help you as a franchisor be successful. That personal relationship will make that happen. And that's an ongoing topic that kept coming up in, a lot of the sessions I participated in. And I was thinking, this also applies for franchisees. Franchisees need to build relationships with the field team, their leaders, the unit managers, their team members, because if you, as you grow and you become further and further away from them, and you don't have those personal relationships, those things that inspire people to do better because they knew you and they were working for you and you were a great leader that they could follow, if they eventually don't know who you are and what you're all about, then those relationships, erode. And so making an effort of doing the things that you need to do to feel and build that relationship is going to be important. Obviously, being present is important. Visiting your units, meeting the people in person is going to be very important. So, don't be afraid of getting out of your office and getting in the car and going into your units and shaking hands with your people. Is going to be important to build those personal relationships so that people know who they're working for, what you stand for, and how much you want them to succeed and do well. That is not just about the business, it's not just about the money, but it's also about the people. And you might think so, but until you actually, tell them face to face, shoulder to shoulder, like they say, it's going to, they're not going to see it as much. So consider building strong relationships with your people by being present more is, I think, a great message that it applies to you as much as it does to the franchisors. Another ongoing topic that kept coming up is about doing more with less with technology. I would say that in the last 6 conferences that I have been to, there has not been one where there wasn't at least one particular session on artificial intelligence. And I mean, we all know this is like a thing right now, right? However, even before artificial intelligence, before that happened, there was always meetings on technology, on platforms, on what's out there, because doing more with less is not new. I mean, this has been going on for a long, long time, probably forever. But now technology allows us to do that, more and more. But we need to know what technology is available, right? How can you use it? What's the best way or the best one for your organization? There really needs to be a concerted effort of finding those resources, that technology, those platforms that can help you do a great job, do more with less, so that not only will the effort be less, the cost will be less, but also people can have a better work-life balance and a much better experience at work. And of course, your franchisees need that technology so that they can be more efficient. Anywhere where you can, reduce expenses through technology is going to be great. And so definitely that was an ongoing theme. And of course, the same way that it applies for a franchisor, that a lot of times are looking for platforms and technology to then will require franchisees. Franchisees are always also looking for technology and platforms and software that can help their business be successful. And doing more with less totally applies in the franchisee world. And so for sure, this is something that is important. And now with AI, that is something that you can use in marketing. You can use that in communications. You can use that with employee activities and actions. I mean, AI really is everywhere. And if you're a franchisee that is not embracing technology, this is the message for you to get into it. And I know that some of us that have been around for a while, it's kind of hard, but the reality is that technology is here to stay. AI is here to stay at this point, and we had to embrace it and learn to use it to our advantage. The fifth topic that I noticed, that was coming on and on was the need for a franchisee scorecard. And that means that franchisors should really create a scorecard of the key performance indicators that they can measure so that they can then share that information across their network of franchisees so that everybody will know where they are. Well, first of all, what are the most important key indicators? And second, where they stand within those indicators in their network of franchisees. That way they'll know if they're doing well or they're not doing well. As a matter of fact, one of the comments was, if you have that type of dashboard and you share with all the network, you'll see, because sometimes, there are franchisees that are complaining about things and they might not be the best performers, but because they're the ones that speak the loudest, people listen to them. But if you have a key indicator, if you have a dashboard and people can see who are the top performers and who are the bottom performers, then the franchisees will know who to listen to, because franchisees should really be listening to those franchisees that are succeeding and are doing the things that they need to do to have the best operations and the best business. At the end of the day, that's what a franchisee want. And if you are being misled by someone that is not doing a good job, well, they may not be the ones to listen to. So that's, it makes sense. I think I definitely agree with that. So much so that one of the things that we do encourage, our franchisees in our programs to do is to create just that, a dashboard of the key performance indicators in their business that they need to be keeping an eye on so that they can then share that with the entire organization, especially the leaders, so that people are focused on the right numbers. People are focused on what are the things that actually matter so that they move what they measure and what they're measuring at those key indicators. And so, yeah, I agree that while it is true that it is important for a franchisor to have such a dashboard for their franchisees, I think it's just as important for franchisees to have a dashboard and being able to see where the units are performing, who are the superstars, who are the ones that are at the bottom and need some help to move up, and be able to then improve their business that way. Because if you don't measure it, then how can you move it, right? And so definitely I agree that that's another topic that really aligns with the franchisee and their needs. The next topic was training. And obviously that really applies for everyone. There are definitely, the topic when it comes to the franchisors or emerging franchisors is really the challenge that it is to train. But if you don't train, right, a lot of people were saying how costly training was, but they also were saying, while training is costly, not training is more costly, because the things that people can do if they're not properly trained is a problem. But obviously having challenges when you are limited to what it is that you can train, having challenges with, various technologies and not being able to properly manage it, or, what's the best way to train? How do people learn nowadays? How to communicate better, what platforms to use, what technology to use, how to reach out to the people and manage the turnover along the way. It was definitely an ongoing topic when it came to the Franchisor Conference of Springboard. And, I said, what, I'm glad that they're talking about that, because I think that there is not enough training when it comes, to the franchise world. I think that being, of course, in the training industry and being one of the elite organizations that provide such training, I know how much need there is. And so I 100% agree with that. Love seeing, how the franchisors are really committed to doing a better job at that and really looking for solutions for them. I think is fantastic. And of course, I also believe this applies to franchisees. Franchisees are responsible to create the training for their team members when it comes to the leadership and management skills. The franchisor will provide training on how to duplicate the brand and the systems and the processes and the procedures for the product, service, image, marketing, which is the brand. That's what you acquire from the franchisor, and the franchisor is responsible to provide training on those areas. But as a franchisee, you're responsible to provide training on the leadership and management skills of your unit managers, your assistant managers, your shift leaders, of course, district managers, everybody on the leadership and management skills and what their job should be, etc. And so training absolutely is a ongoing topic of conversation. Love seeing it in the Franchisor Conference. And again, it's something that is totally relatable to franchisees and what they should be focusing on in their organizations. And the eighth topic of that kept coming up in this conference, and this was not new in this one, I've been hearing about this, I think probably almost for a year now, it is the concept of responsible franchising. I really love the fact that this is coming up over and over again, because responsible franchising, I always thought that would be common sense, that nobody should be franchising a business model unless it is responsibly. And this is something that has been coming up. It's a movement that has been created for the last year to be more focused on it, to really hold the franchise community accountable about being responsible in franchising. This is much more of a focus on franchisors, of course, because they're the ones that decide when they're going to franchise and to who they're going to franchise. And so really this concept is all around making sure that you do not franchise a business model unless this business model is actually proven. And once it's proven, that you actually provide the ongoing support to keep it, positive and profitable throughout your organization. Now, of course, you cannot control what your franchisees do in the area of their financing or their people or how they manage the cash. But if you focus and make sure that you have a proven model that works, that has positive results across, your organization, that's good. But if you have a model that is not working out, whether it wasn't working out from the beginning, or maybe the economy changes or something about it changes that made it so that it is not a working model, that, we stop franchising, correct the situation, and then once that's corrected, pursue it. And so responsible franchising really is a topic of conversation and mentioned throughout this conference several times. I love hearing that, seeing that, and I think it's fantastic. Now, from the area of franchisees, what would that be applicable? Well, I think that franchisees also need to be responsible to making sure that if you are acquiring a proven model, that you take responsibility for the knowledge and the skills that you need to be able to make that proven model and turn it into profitability, right? The franchisor is not guaranteeing profitability because they don't have control as to how you manage the business. And so as a franchisee, you need to be responsible for getting the knowledge that you need to be able to turn that revenue that comes from that proven brand into profit by properly managing your team and your expenses. So I think the responsibility really lies on all of us to do a good job and not just wait for somebody else to come and rescue us. And I think that's going to be something that is very important. Our personal responsibility to do the best job and finding the things that we need so that we can be the best leaders and business owners that we can be, regardless of whether we are a franchisor or a franchisee. And the eighth ongoing topic and last for this podcast was to select the best possible franchisees, right? Carefully selection of franchisees. And I really liked hearing about that. It came up over and over and over. How to better select, what profile you're looking for, what are your requirements, how do you then support them? Like literally, how do you select the right franchisee for your organization? And for some franchisors, it might be something, and for other franchisors, it might be something different. But as a franchisor, you need to know what is the best profile for your franchisee so that you have, a franchisee that can be successful. And it all really starts from the very, very beginning on what is the profile of that franchisee. And so they were talking about that and all kinds of ways to find that and determine that and what to look for and, what can you overcome with education and support? What can you not overcome with education and support, et cetera, et cetera. So great conversation around that. And love the fact that people were sharing a lot of best practices on that particular situation. And I think that the same topic applies for franchisees when it comes to the right selection of their leaders. The same way that franchisor, once I say to franchisees, is a 10-year marriage, right? Assuming it lasts all the way to the full agreement. When it comes to the franchisee, it probably is a shorter term and there is less commitment, but not any less important. when you select the unit manager of your organization, and even more, when you select the district manager in your organization, you are going to be affecting anyone and everyone that these people that report to these leaders. And so that means that if you don't select the right one, you could be affecting one unit to a whole district of work experience, results, performance, everything. And you may be a great leader with a great culture and great, intentions and thoughts. But if the leader that you select to represent you in front of your organization is not the right one, they can easily break, that part of your organization. And so careful selection of your leaders is super important. So just like the franchisors need to start with a profile, you need to start with what is the profile of the team member that you're looking for your organization. And from then, make sure that when you do make the final selection, that these men and women are in a line with that profile that you look for. And if you do that, then you have a better chance of success, the same way that the franchisor has a better chance of success when they choose the right franchisee for their brand. So there you go. Those are 9 ongoing topics that I saw that happened at the Springboard Franchisor Conference over and over. All of them, as you can see, apply to franchisee organizations. So I thought that it was a great conference. I'm definitely going to go back there to hear and see what else franchisors are working on to be better, more responsible, more successful, and helping their franchisees more successful. Because at the end of the day, that's what the American Franchise Academy is focused on. We are focused on ensuring that franchisees and their American dream of business ownership through franchising is protected and growing and successful for the long run. So I'm glad that I went to the conference. I loved seeing everything that's happening over there. And I hope that you found this message for this podcast valuable, that it makes you think about the things that you have in your organization, and hopefully we can refocus on some of these topics if you think that you may have an opportunity. And if you'd like to learn more about the American Franchise Academy, all you need to do is visit us at americanfranchiseacademy.com and learn about the programs that we have created to support and develop not only franchisees so they can go multi-unit operators, but also their leaders so that they can be great at leadership and managing the business of the franchise. Thank you, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.